Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast Modern Couples, What Your Therapist Never Told You. My name is Rick Miller.
I'm Lillian Borges.
And we're both therapists who love working with couples. We're thrilled you've joined us today, and today's episode is Your Place or Mine?
Yay. Nowadays, a lot of couples are choosing to live separately. Maybe because of the pandemic. I've heard some older folks who met later in life chose to live in separate places. Sometimes blended families, when they have teenagers in different school districts, they choose to be living in different places. We know this is sometimes necessary for some folks who are in the military or oil rig assignments or entertainment athletics tours. Sometimes couples or families have to, but nowadays some couples are choosing to live separately. And that is interesting for dynamics. It brings a dynamic to the couple. What do you think?
Well, I was just going to ask you to weigh in as a couples therapist. I have a lot to say about it, but I'll wait a moment. What do you think? Is it okay?
Well, sometimes it's not an option. I would think why you're choosing this. And if you're choosing it to avoid conflicts, to avoid dealing with difficult things in the relationship, that is not okay. But if you are choosing that because of a lot of complexities, and sometimes you choose this as a different lifestyle, and that is fine.
Yes.
You have to keep in mind difficult situations like sickness, like celebrations, like crisis, like keeping things very clear, because sometimes living in different households, dealing with those things, those situations might be difficult for the couple.
Oh, you say so many great things. I'm going to start where you started, which is that more and more couples are living in different places these days for a variety of reasons. And I keep seeing articles about this. They're popping up everywhere because so many people are doing it. And I agree with you that there's two sides to it. Are couples doing it to escape or maintain distance, or are they doing it out of necessity, or are they doing it because they want to? And I think in today's world, it's a combination of everything. And there are some couples to preserve the excitement and the sexuality and the companionship of the relationship that they're choosing some separateness to enjoy the sense of excitement that's there. You mentioned something, and I just had a flashback when you mentioned couples that live in different places, and sometimes it can be tricky. I had a flashback of being in my garage and leaning on my garage door frame when I pushed the button to go up, and it sliced my thumb open, and it was late at night, and I was alone. And I was like, Oh my God, I have a partner, but he's not here, and I can't call anyone. And am I going to drive myself to the emergency room, or what am I going to do? And somehow I got a tourniquet on myself, and everything was okay. So the unexpected experience of living in two different places, of course, also comes up. I was thinking about being a therapist to couples, and in the old days, I or we as a field might have said, you should live under one roof, or how can you live in two places, and what are you avoiding? And we're living in a modern world now where therapists too accommodate to the needs of our clients. And who am I to say to my clients, you should do it this way, not this way? So I think flexibility is something that I've learned to grow with as a therapist over time.
Yes. I think that in the past, couples, even when they lived in different places or they had to move a lot, or I think that they would complain a lot about not spending enough time together and a lot of stuff that they would miss. So they would suffer more. And I think that nowadays couples are choosing that. And I think that the modern couples want more intimacy. and they want to preserve and they wanted connection and they want a different relationship than just, sharing bills and a household and kids and building a life together. So in that sense, I think a lot of couples are thinking about, what do I want? What is intimacy for me? There is a lot of gender, differences, and gay couples being able to marry. So this question of what is intimacy and how do we want to live this and how does it work for us? It's more and more on the table nowadays.
Yeah.
And in the past, it wasn't, at least I didn't see that as much in my office. You brought one memory. I have another memory when I had to have a surgery myself. And my husband was, of course, not in town. And then I told him that I needed to do a surgery. And, he said, do you want me to come and be with you? I said, of course. And he said, really?
Wow.
Those types of things can have a deep cut in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sickness, surgeries, big crisis, missing celebrations can be difficult and can cut deep into the attachment of a couple. And when you live separately, that can be challenging.
Well, I think there's a difference between living separately versus not participating in certain rituals in life that are crucial for couples to do together. I mean, family, illness or death or funerals or surgeries, those kinds of things. I mean, if you think about being a couple who's committed, regardless of where you live, these are the things that we're supposed to show up for.
Yeah.
I think anyone listening to this whose spouse travels for work understands what it's like living in two different places, whether it's for a day or two or for longer periods of time. And the challenge is, when you're not living under one roof, how do you come together at the beginning and end of a period of time of being apart? How do you make it okay? How do you stay connected? These are all challenges for couples. And I think you and I have a similar stance about maintaining connection, closeness, and intimacy despite where people are. The thing that I struggle with as a couples therapist with the couples that I work with is not your place or mine, but more about my home or your home. Where will I run to in the midst of conflict? I work with a lot of gay couples who are privileged and have enough money to have two homes, sometimes more. And in the midst of conflict, one of them takes off and goes to another house to avoid working through the argument. So interesting that they're in couples therapy to work through arguments, and there they are taking off in the midst of an argument. And I feel like I have to slow them down, go through the process. I've actually encouraged one member in the couple not to run to the other house. He doesn't always listen to me. I try my best though. So any thoughts?
Oh, you said it all. When you're using the structure of having different houses to avoid conflict, to not talk about it, it is not okay.
Right.
Or it is okay. It's just going to affect the relationship and undermine the relationship, the health of the relationship.
Right.
I know that for some people, it is the last thing that they want. For people who learn that they should avoid conflict at all costs, it is almost an immediate reaction that they don't want to go there and they try to flee. But it is also important to remember this is not good for me. My therapist said that it's not good for me.
Right.
My partner said that it's not good for me. Next time, I would be more mindful and I would show up differently. I will show up.
Yeah.
And it can happen in having different households, or it can happen in the same household in different rooms, right?
Yeah.
Or not coming home, or avoiding, or so when you're avoiding, having a lot of money or having no money will be the
avoidance is avoidance.
Avoidance, yes. Avoidance is avoidance, yes.
So I'm thinking of a couple different models of living in different places. I have two friends, a gay male couple, who have two places, and they never separate from each other. They go everywhere together. They have one car. And so when one of them has a work assignment in the other geographical region, his husband goes with him and they spend 24/7 together, more or less. And it works for them. And that's great. In my instance, I've been with my partner for 30 years, and we've always had two places since the day we've met. And we've spent on many weeks 2 nights apart from each other for work reasons. And it works. And sometimes it's challenging and sometimes it's better. I mean, it's a little of everything. People will frequently say, "Oh, you have a good relationship because you're apart for a few days a week." And my stance is a good relationship is a good relationship, and a not good relationship is a troubled relationship. It's not how many homes you have. That being said, yes, I enjoy the counters being clean. I enjoy sleeping a little bit better on certain nights, but it's not the be all and the end all of things.
You have a good relationship in spite of, as you said, it can bring a lot of challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might get sick and your partner's not there. There is a lot of other challenges. The structural issues, which is living in different houses. It is about how to handle that is not necessarily it is okay or not okay. It is how you handle that.
And how you stay connected.
Yes, how you stay connected. And part of it has to do with, do you have each other's manual? Do you know how your partner works, what it takes, what is important, so be sensitive to each other.
Yes.
And be connected has to do with being sensitive to each other.
Yep.
So knowing that a specific date or a specific thing is important and being sensitive, even when you're living apart, but noticing and making it either with text messages or making up to your partner or your partner feeling that you understand and you see him or her. It is very important. And it goes a long way. A lot of times we are not sensitive.
I always stress with my couples that live in different places to stay connected with each other. And you were talking about text messages, or do you talk on the phone, or do you FaceTime? But just because you're not in the same house doesn't mean that the needs of the couple get overlooked and you get time away for a few days. So I really encourage that connection and closeness to continue no matter what.
I have a couple, actually a few couples, whose wife is thinking about leaving. Actually, one of them is a gay couple. So, yeah. But they are tired of the same thing happening over and over and over again. And one of them is the partner making decisions without consulting.
Yeah.
And another one is prioritizing the family of origin, or not paying attention and not being sensitive a specific topic. So that's why I'm saying it is important to have the owner's manual of your partner, because it can be a death of, 1,000 cuts, small little things that happen over time that can lead sometimes to, I had enough of this. So knowing what is important, what is your partner sensitive, and paying attention to that and keeping the conversation going about who is my partner, what is happening right now. Because we do a lot of that in the beginning of the relationship, and then we don't do that anymore. We think, okay, I know my partner, and then I don't need to ask more questions. We don't need to have deeper conversations anymore.
I love the concept of the owner's manual, and I was imagining having my couples in my office recite the owner's manual of their partner from their vantage point. And I think in many cases, there's a lot of attunement there, and people can recite or write the owner's manual about their partner in a way that's accurate. The question is, will they play it out in day-to-day life with each other in a way that's respectful and committed as well? I hope so.
A lot of times you're going to see that is not. They are just overlooking. They are playing with their partner with their own manual.
Yes.
Forgetting that your partner has a different manual.
Yes.
And because they have a different background, different traumas, different, So again, having different places or being in different households sometimes make it difficult to have that and update your owner's manual and being sensitive to your partner and knowing what's happening with them and then causing problems later in the relationship.
We're talking about your place or mine, and that could involve each person having their own place because historically they had separate places, or it could mean, like I said, couples that own two properties together. And part of that challenge is twice the amount of work, twice the amount of negotiation, who does what, where. There's a lot that needs to take place. And some people are good at certain things and not good at other things. So does that mean the person that's good at cleaning cleans two houses? It's a lot of negotiation, but it can work, of course.
Of course it can work. It is much more complexities that you need to talk about, discuss about, or you keep everything separate and then you make agreements and then you don't have to talk much about what's going to happen, who is going to pay the bills, who is going to clean what and how this is going to happen. One thing that I'm thinking is sometimes one person agrees to have a different lifestyle or a separate household, thinking I'll get used to it. I don't really want this, but I'll get used to it. My partner wants it, so let's try it. And then just to find out later that, oh yeah, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And that can be tricky and could be a deal breaker. If I want to have my own home. No, I want to live by myself. I want to get married. No, I don't want to get married. Yeah. So I think that the problem is when one person doesn't really want to, but goes along because one partner just wants it so strongly and you do not want to lose your partner, so you agree with it.
Yeah, but you can't lose yourself either. I mean, if you betray yourself to cave into the needs of your partner, then you're not being fair to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you just described a dynamic that happens sometimes in couples.
Going back to the concept of modern couples, we live in a world where things are different from what they used to be. There are open relationships, there are polyamorous couples, and some couples maintain space to be able to have romantic or sexual moments with other people. And it's a territory that's growing. There's been a lot of articles on polyamorous relationships lately. And I suppose the benefit of your place or mine is having more space. But that takes a lot of commitment, a lot of communication, and a lot of negotiations.
Yes. And when the two of them agree and want a polyamory or amorous relationship, it's good and fine. And again, it does require a lot of negotiation, a lot of commitment and conversations. But I see in my office a lot of couples who one person wants to be polyamory and the other person doesn't.
Right.
And they go along for a while thinking, I will try. I don't know if this is for me or not. And then again, they find out later, this is not
working
really for me.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with that? They have to choose and see. But as a couples therapist, there's not much I can do. I cannot change someone's desire or lack thereof. So they have to decide what to do.
And that's our challenge as couples therapists. We have to go along with who our clients are and what they're bringing into our offices. However, you and I both take a strong stance about couples being in a healthy zone and maintaining connection and communication. So what are your takeaways on this topic?
If you choose to live in a different households, choose that for the right reasons, right? That it's not to avoid things. It is because you want to have vibrant, intimate, good relationship with your partner and you're committed to working the things that happen together, communicate about that, but being with them in celebrations, crisis, being there for each other in difficult and positive moments as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't going to add your last point, but I think I'm going to put that first, that even if you're living in two different places, maintaining the rituals of what are important in couples' lives and family lives is so important. Also, evaluate companionship for both of you. What do you want? How is it working? What needs to be tweaked? Life is all about tweaking and tweaking again to meet the needs of our connection and attachment and comfort. Also, establish rituals of connection and stay connected throughout. And be honest with yourself. What works for me? Because I love the examples that you're giving of people that go along with things, but we need to be true to ourselves first and foremost.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So that is it. Another episode of Modern Couples, What Your Therapist Never Told You, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Take care.